Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another exciting episode of Two Men in Black and White, an honest conversation. That's right, note to Steve Bannon. If Donald Trump can defy term limits and run for another one, so can the return of the Mac. Obama 2028. Right on, keep the faith. I'm so sick of Donald Trump and his ilk getting their way. Ghislaine Maxwell, one of the most notorious serial human traffickers in American history, has been moved to a federal prison camp. Her security level has been downgraded to where she's less of a threat now. And who thinks this is not a signal that she is on her way out the door? She is on her way to a presidential pardon. And I'm so sick of Donald Trump's lying, stealing, cheating, finagling, pedophilia, and every other crime that you can think of, and he always gets away with it. And when we looked at Russia, they all got away with it. I'm sick and tired of white privilege not being held accountable. When you break the law that we have on the books. Joining me now is my partner, Brock Ganeles, from high atop the Hudson Valley. Brock, what say you, my friend? I'm pissed off on a Friday evening. I
am atop the Hudson Valley, home from a long trip across country. I've been on the road for 10, 11 days now, so learned a lot about the country.
Sure.
Talked to a lot of people.
Sure.
I think you just defined quid pro quo in the Maxwell scenario, so something is coming from her and her camp that will benefit Trump 2.0. Certainly. She's certainly in negotiation mode. She is considered one of the great manipulators of all time. Making her a good human trafficker, right? By tricking and coercing people, so she knows how to play the game. She's playing it to her benefit right now.
Yeah. Young girls.
So she can certainly coerce Trump and his moronic crew, right? Of afraid and trapped animals because they're caught in this web, and everything Trump says digs the hole deeper for him. So they really need Maxwell to pull him out of this hole. So she's going to get whatever she wants for now. I mean, she holds leverage because Trump needs her right now because his approval's tanking, and he looks like an idiot, and he knows it. So one thing Donald Trump knows, his survival instinct kicks in. He knows he has a losing hand, and she may be his ace in the hole.
All right. And it's disgusting. And in the meanwhile, we're talking about a Friday on his, first year in office. What are we on, month 7, 8?
Yeah, month 7. I think it's 7.
Month 7, where this guy has had the worst jobs performance, the worst economic indicators that we could possibly hope for. I mean, this guy's in the red. 26,000 manufacturing jobs that he said
we're going to come back.
America, the manufacturing superpower of the world.
Mean, the unemployment numbers today, not only were they terrible, not only then did they do the classic revision of the last 2 months, which is like the quiet way of saying like those numbers were bullshit, and slipping in some real ones underneath it.
Right.
After the fact, what is Trump MAGA Project 2025 they need to do? Fire the guy who compiled the statistics.
Exactly.
We need a different person, new referee. Basically, we got our ass kicked. We need a new referee who's going to call everything in our favor because on a fair playing field, we're losing and we're failing. And that was today's economic/leadership news. That was America in decline, in full force today. Going backwards, but blaming someone else and or deciding that we'll move to the propaganda mode and we'll just change the numbers. Who's going to know? Who's going to know? Americans are idiots. Who's going to know?
And that's what they're depending on. That's why 2028 slogan, make America intelligent again. I've got to refer to the prop. The labor secretary, the Fed chair, all in lockstep with the Fed chair. The Fed chair is hated by Trump, and yet he's still playing along, talking about how great things are. Howard Nutlicks, Lutnick, Licks Nuts, whatever it is. He is a joke. These people are laughable. How did they become so wealthy? I'd love to know. And here's the thing, bro. It has to be a federal crime to report to the nation incorrect or fabricated information about our economic indicators, because it's got to be fraud, because these are the things that banks and mortgage companies are staking their reputations on. Is it not? Help me on Wall Street. Help
Yeah,
me
okay.
understand
Yeah, I
that.
don't, I mean, the odd thing is in most areas in life, if you out and out lie, like Trump did in real estate, where he got, where they finally caught up to him, it is considered fraud and it is against the law. But when you're in politics and government, I'm not sure that it's like legally, like lying is illegal. Like, I'm not sure there's an illegal, true on the books illegality to it. But also, just to correct, unless I missed something today, Jerome Powell has actually been towed the line against Trump and has been one of the few people in the entire government infrastructure that has actually played by his conviction. He has said, number one, Trump can't fire him. Number two, he has not lowered rates, even though Trump went on yet another, like 1,000 all caps words tweet today that Powell, he basically blamed Powell, that the reason the numbers aren't better is because Jerome Powell hasn't cut interest rates, but he won't cut interest rates because that's inflationary and he hasn't seen inflation come down yet. So Powell, whether you like him or not, is actually making his own judgment calls independent of what Trump wants him to do. So I kind of respect him now because there's so few people in government that are willing to do that. Like you saw the Smithsonian, right? They changed American history in their mind by stripping Trump out of the section of American history in the Smithsonian that talks about presidential impeachments.
Right.
So now Trump's not included anymore. It's just Nixon and I think it's Andrew Johnson. I think, yeah.
Clinton.
And Clinton, yeah, three. Yeah, it's back to just three presidents who were impeached. So basically, someone at the Smithsonian didn't stand tall and hold the line. They just rolled over and said, you know what, history is whatever Donald Trump says it is. I want to keep my job. Basically, is what they said.
Meanwhile, the records guy who said, hey, you can't be redacting those records and those files with Donald Trump's name in it, when all those FBI agents that we paid for spent all that time going through all those documents, removing and redacting Trump's names. Mr. Seidel, the manager in the records department, said, hey, you can't do that. Don't cover that up. The Trump regime said either you resign or we'll fire you. He resigned.
Yeah, he's gone. Of course he's going to be gone.
He's gone.
Of course he's going to be gone. I'm like, somebody please just leak the fucking file already. I mean, the problem is we all know what's in it anyway, but there's enough idiots in the country that actually need to see it. And I want it because it's red meat for QAnon fucking wackos. And I want to see that get thrown over the fence into that bullpen and let them all kind of rip that fucking file apart and, have their crazies and say, oh, look at all the Democrats that are in it. What they don't realize is we don't care about anyone who's in it. Fuck them,
Right.
We don't hold on. We don't have any.
Not at all. We'll find a new hero.
Yeah, we'll move on to the next. There's no Abraham Lincoln's in there. We're like, fuck Lincoln, right? We don't care. There's no sacred cow,
No, not at all. And let's think back to the .com boom, the great 90s, right? 96, 97, 98. Wow. Could the great Christians and the moral right get enough of the Monica Lewinsky scandal? I mean, how much of that? Wow, really? We're going to have to listen to the details of oral sex and a cigar in the Oval Office? But you don't want to know about a guy who's credibly accused of 26 women that came out? Much less the lawsuits where teenage girls are saying he threw money at them after he had his way with them. And they were teenagers.
Yeah.
I mean, and women were stolen from his Mar-a-Lago, bed-bug infested rat trap. So, how do we not want to hear that? But we impeached Mr. Clinton over, his indiscretions with adult women. And remember, Gary Condit was the happiest guy. Oh, that's something else. Let me not get into that. Let's stay on focus. Let's stay on. My mind starts running with me, bro.
Look,
My mind just
it's hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy. We see it every day. We saw it with Grassley on the whistleblowers. We see it. I mean, the religious right, whatever. That's why I said the other day when I heard about Christian values, I'm like, it's not even religious wording anymore. It's just political talk. It's just gamesmanship to be used when you want to, be anti-trans or anti-LGBTQ. You parse out a couple sentences from the good book that fit your political purposes, and then you ignore everything else on there. Oh, we want the 10 commandments in schools in Texas. Well, let's go through those 10 fucking commandments and let's talk about the president. I mean, it's a fucking joke. So to me, I don't even want to hear the term religious leader anymore and all this. Like, it's just, to me, it's lost. It's lost any validation. And now you can legally be political in a place of worship, so it doesn't affect your tax-free status. So now the pulpit's just going to become a formal, political stump.
Right.
And that's sad, right? Because it's supposed to be, really about human beings and compassion and a relationship maybe with a higher being and how we're all connected, right? That was supposedly the point of religion.
right. Well, remember too, Brock, who's also benefiting from the big beautiful bill. Those people who may need to write off the use of their private
The
jet.
third quote wrote, yeah.
Yeah. And, who more than these mega church pastors needs to write off a private jet, because they're doing a service maybe in Dallas, maybe another one in Atlanta, then another one in Houston. And they got to be able to get to all these houses of worship, right? And wow, now they can write off, the fuel surcharge on those private jets and the maintenance and well, it's good to know they'll be flying safely because.
Well, it just goes back to what you said at the beginning where you started with Bannon, and I didn't hear his quote, but they're floating it out. Trump's already floating out another term. He's raising money for a PAC. The game. We know the game that's coming, right? And it's just the classic, the words on paper only matter or only interpreted in a way that gets a certain group of people, old white men, power. It's the same way if you're an originalist on the Constitution. You're just reading the words in a way that benefit you and trying to get that kind of interpretation. So now they're going to try to come up with another interpretation to keep Trump in power because he's such a useful idiot for the right. He's the perfect, front man, right? He's the perfect lead singer. He's the David Lee Roth of Project 2025. He runs around the stage, makes a lot of noise, gets a lot of attention while they're doing the real work behind the scenes of re-engineering America into a white supremacy nation. So all these things, it's like the same game gets played in, different arenas, but it's the same game with the same playbook and the same strategy and the same trickeration just to fool the American public or to feed them what they want to hear anyway and just give them a justification to really do what they want to do or have the society they want to have. So it's all just, it's like a validation game that gets played.
Absolutely.
I'm sick of it.
Yeah. And Brock, what I always tell you, when white America catches a cold, black America gets pneumonia, right? We saw the jobs numbers today, black unemployment skyrocketing.
First to go, right? First to go.
Last hired, first fired, right? All the time. What are we up to? 7.2% now?
Performance reviews. It must have been due to performance. Performance. Just like Doji, right? Performance.
Right. And DEI, right? When you get rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion, what are you left with? I mean, I can't think of anything, but, maybe, Miller and Bannon and these clowns know better.
This flows us to a topic I wanted to touch on today. Now, so I saw a statistic that 50 years ago, the ratio of white wealth to black wealth was 6 to 1, white to black, 6 times on average, right? We know there's a huge outliers. 50 years later, you know what that ratio is currently?
12 to 1?
Still 6 to 1. Hasn't fucking budged. 50 years. Which got me to thinking, it kind of reinforced my belief, I guess, in what I said yesterday. I believe it more, which is white America does not care about the success of black America. Does not care. 50 years of programs and all this horse shit and talk and quote progress, and it's the same ratio. Zero improvement. So to me, DEI was a farce, and it was proven to be a farce because as soon as when big bloated fucking Mad King said that he didn't like it,
Right.
it disappeared. It was gone. And you know what? In the end, none of those efforts put an extra dime in any black family's pocket. 50, I think it might have been even 60 years. No progress. Nothing. So nothing came of it. Nothing has come of it, which got me just reminded me to remind you to tell your friends, if they hadn't figured it out already, that white America does not care. It is not invested in the success of black America. They're invested in the success, quote, of America, real America, their America, themselves, but like, they're not pulling anybody up. They're not, white America's not like, oh no, we need to bring everybody along. And right, look at Native Americans. Like, they're 200 years into this, right? And in the end, no one's done shit for them, right? Their situation has not improved.
At all.
And I think we just you're going to have to work on that premise and stop most black people, I'm sure, have stopped expecting anything from white people. But maybe there was some signs of hope that DEI, sounded like it was like a real program that was going to, actually do something.
Right. And, again, Brock, I didn't grow up in a home where, people taught you not to believe and not to have faith in mankind.
Now,
you know what I mean?
This podcast is good. I don't mean to crush your spirit, but I feel like talking to me every night, every day, maybe the worst thing ever happened to you, So I don't want to laugh about it, but it has me thinking about it more and more.
Right. But that's why it's an honest conversation. And maybe we've been fooled, into thinking that someone else cares, into thinking that, the most successful companies understand that diversity of thought, diversity of talent is a plus.
Well, I'm going to say it this way then. If I'm wrong, and there are people in white America that care, now's the time to fucking say something. So I want to hear from them. I want to hear from politicians that they're going to have actual policies, that part of their future platform, when they get power back, and part of their argument for earning power back, is that they're going to do this, and this. Like real shit that gets real outcomes.
Right.
That I haven't heard yet, right? I want to hear a business leader say, fuck this bullshit of rolling back DEI. This is one of the best programs we do. This makes our company better. Just because some fucking asinine president of the United States is a racist a-hole doesn't mean I have to be one, and doesn't mean we're going to run our company that way, instead of cowering in the background and hoping that the government doesn't come after them, right? So now's the time to say it, right? All cards need to be on the table now, right? Like, democracy, our country is falling apart. It's disintegrating before our eyes. It's the time for everyone to, basically say where they stand. Man up. Are you racist? Are you not? Are you going to do something about shit? Do you like what's going on in the country? Are you going to stay quiet because, it's actually working in your, it's working your way, even if so many of the others are getting fucked. But you know what? I'm just going to sit here quietly in the corner because, what's so bad? My life hasn't changed, right? So I just want to hear it then. And I certainly want to hear it from politicians on the left. Because if you can't say it now, then stop. Stop expecting. When are you going to? And then black people should never vote for these fuckers again if they can't come out and say something.
And, and again, it does get back down to quality of life issues. When we see, 1 in 3 black men under the guise of the penal system in this country, when we see black and brown people that can't get out of jail because they can't get bond, can't get bail money. And then we have to sit here and watch a guy with 34 felony convictions become leader of the free world, right? And then we see the most prolific sex trafficker, his accomplice, get busted down to a prison camp, Club Fed. When they talk about Club Fed, that's where they sent her to. She might have ran into some tough cookies at the place she was at before over in Tallahassee. Now, she could probably walk right off campus if she felt like it, because that's how lax the security is at Club Fed. I might be overstating it a little bit, but she's not in any danger right now You know who else is there? What's her name? Holmes, who came up with the fake test. That's the people she's going to run into. White collar crimes. You see what I'm saying? See what I'm getting at here? Non-violent. Really? Sex trafficking? Human sex trafficking is a non-violent
Yeah, of
offense?
minors.
Yeah, of minors against children, right? How is QAnon sitting for this? How are the MAGA, faithful sitting still for this? And then they're going to watch Donald Trump pardon her, and then they'll forget about it. We're not having any elections in 26 anyway. It won't matter. Because that's where we're headed. That's where we're headed. This guy thinks he can do and say anything he wants, right, to stack the deck in his favor, and he's never going to have to pay a price because he's never had to.
Never had to.
Never been held accountable.
Well, the most positive thing I saw today was that Gavin Newsom said that if Texas goes ahead and gerrymanders, that he's going to put kind of push for a special election and re-engineer the districts in California so that all 52 Congress people should end up as Democrats. Yeah. So we're going to sweep out we're going to figure out how to sweep out every Republican candidate. Like, if you want to play that game, it's like, thank fucking God.
Right. Right. Good luck.
About shifting things around. Let's extend out some of those New York State districts. Let's move that that Bronx, Queens, all the way up halfway into Westchester and see how Mike Mueller does. Okay? Sorry, Mike. See you later.
And if not now, when?
Yeah,
Right?
has to be now.
That was the time.
It's only now. If Texas is pulling this shit, they're trying to squeeze out Jasmine Crockett. Personally, I think she could win in almost any fucking district, but,
No doubt.
let's drop her ass in Montana and let's see what happens.
No doubt. And she was just on live. I was just watching her live on her Instagram just before we started recording, and she was in an airport. She was traveling, and she was saying, people call me racist, but I've never come up with any kind of legislation that would hurt one demographic or another. She said, unlike my Republican counterparts who are actively, and here's the other thing about those 5 seats they're looking at. They're banking on, Latinos voting Republican.
Yeah, they think they got them and they're not going to lose them because they got them. Hey, Latinos, like, where are you guys these days? Are you like I heard maybe some just complacent and just thinking like, it's the other Latinos that are getting carted away, not us. They didn't do it the right way, and is that where they stand, or have they woken up to the fact that they're the next targets?
Bro, I've seen too many Latino tears, right, for them to not wake up at this point, right? This is what it is.
This
fell for the banana in the tailpipe. This is
thing gets me. So I'm gonna hopefully not bore you too much and be quick with some stories from the road.
Sure.
But I was in Boise, Idaho, right? Idaho, as red as it gets. Boise, kind of a progressive city within Idaho. Okay. Sure. Couple things. Do you realize that they have, along with the artist's home where I was out to visit my wife, they have restored the home of a black woman, and that woman's home is a historic site in Boise, so that when visitors come to the town, they want visitors to Boise to see like how black people lived in their city. And I was like, I can't believe that. I was shocked when I heard it. And it's basic. I said, how did black people get to Boise? And it was apparently first the military. There was a military base out there. But the city was so progressive that they're actually trying to maintain and show black history in Boise, Idaho. I was impressed by that. She also told me, Brock, if you look at the deeds of most of the homes in Idaho, there's actually a section to the deed that literally says the house can't be sold to a black person. That's how prominent the redlining was. It was written into the deeds. Because I was like, well, why would all the black people live in just the one neighborhood? They were only allowed to buy in the one neighborhood. That's my one little Boise story. I viewed it as a good and bad, but almost amazing that such a red state. They also have an Anne Frank Memorial.
Really?
Humanities Memorial in Boise. I go running on the line there by the Boise River and I see it. And I would get at some, one of these events I was at and I asked someone like, why is there an Anne Frank Memorial in Boise, Idaho?
Boise.
What's the connection?
Right.
It's because there's so many neo-Nazis in Idaho. It became such a problem that there's so much anti-Semitism that some people raised money to build and create this memorial so that it would almost be like, don't let this happen here, an awareness center of all these quotes from great humanitarians, I think from like MLK and others, and they're trying to create an awareness so there'd be less anti-Semitism in Idaho. But meanwhile, I'm walking around the city going to Valerie, I really like Idaho. This is really nice. This is really great. And she's like, really? And we look down, and on the sidewalk, spray painted, is a swastika.
In 2025.
Last week. So I'm like that, and I was like thinking to myself, that's America, right? You got a group of people trying to show some black history, another group of people trying to enlighten their fellow citizens so that we don't have, Holocausts again. But you have, it's all, in essence, one oasis in Idaho trying to have some sense of, quote, DEI, right? And acknowledging that there's others around that should be welcomed and valued, because the standard run-of-the-mill Idahoan is fucking, racist as shit. And they're like, there's the city of Boise sort of fighting against it. I just found it fascinating. And then, of course, disappointing when I looked down and saw the swastika. I was just bragging about how much I like Boise. It's like, Brock, you really think you could live here? I was like, oh, maybe I couldn't live here, Right. Maybe I'm having a false sense of, in my 48 hours, I'm not getting the full picture. But the Anne Frank thing just hit me with, like, Latinos. Like,
Right.
Do young people even know her story anymore? Is it even taught? The whole point of her story is that they're coming for you, right? She was othered. She was dehumanized. And they were coming for her and her family, and that's why they were hiding out. And oh, by the way, eventually they got caught and killed.
Right.
So, like, they're coming for you, Latinos. There is no one safe. And after the Latinos, one of our groups is next. Like Haitians, black people, like Jews, we know we're somewhere on the list. I don't know where on the list, and we're on the list at some point. Anyway.
Yeah, it's scary. I would, if someone had told me this was going to happen 30 years ago, I would have been like, you're out of your mind. We'll be so far beyond white supremacy in 2025, and here we are going back in time. Like back in time to the 50s. I mean, every day you look on social media and you can see some sort of black-white confrontation, white-brown confrontation. Like people, what do you mean prove I live here? You have a lease? I got a key to my apartment. What are you talking about? I mean, it is just insane. The amount of freedom that Trump has given the people who hate.
Yeah, we have a harassment society now. We have an open harassment, and it's endorsed from the top.
Yes, indeed. It comes from the top. That's the go-to stuff. I mean, people are doing it everywhere, and you're seeing people get knocked out, getting windows punched out, getting laid out all over the place. For what? For what? Because you don't like the color of my skin, and I ordered. One lady was getting harassed today. I saw she was at Walmart. The white lady jumped out of her truck and accused her of stealing because she had too much in her cart. She bought more than the white woman had purchased, so it must have been stolen.
Something's wrong here. Yeah. How could you possibly have enough money in your pocket? I'm supposed to have 6 times the wealth of you. How could you? Yeah, the statistics say I'm supposed to have 6 times the wealth.
Right.
And we're going to keep that ratio for 50 years and forever. How could I not have 6 times more shit in my cart than you? Something's fucking wrong. You're stealing from the system, right? You're probably, stealing welfare, right? And all the things that were going through that white person's head, right? As they looked at it, or they just felt so shitty about themselves. Like, how could I not be better than that person? Fuck them. I got to knock them down a peg, right? I have to bully them now because I feel inadequate, right? Like, that's like the need. That's the Donald Trump in a nutshell. But he, we keep talking about, but he just endorses and allows for, that mentality to just come out of the shadows, right? It's not in the shadows anymore. Everything is out in the open now.
Everything is wide open.
The racism to the corruption, it's just all wide open. So anyway, I found it interesting in Boise was trying to do a few people are trying to do a couple things to enlighten their fellow human beings, but they're fighting, what I also realize is they're fighting a losing battle, right? Because the rank and file is got a spray paint can and thinks that putting a swastika on the sidewalk is like sending a message to me, I guess, right? To me. They didn't know me. They didn't know I was coming, but they were sending me a message. Not welcome here. Be happy be happy you're not getting pulled away by masked Gestapo and thrown in a concentration camp. Was basically the message to me, right? Be happy we haven't gotten to you yet because we run this shit. Anyway, hey, before we hop, I have to ask you a question. How do you feel about or think about Kamala Harris sort of stepping back into the limelight a little bit after 6 months off by going on the Colbert Show? I don't know if you saw any of those clips. She did. She was on last night saying that we basically lost our democracy. What was your gut feeling on that?
Happy she's back. I don't think she should run for governor of California because she came within, a felony conviction of becoming president. She was right there and only had a couple of months to run. And I feel like she's our next best chance. I figured we should be looking for a partner for her instead of looking at her as disposable goods. I thought she was ready for the job after serving as vice president in such an effective administration. I mean, consider what they did, right?
Yeah, we got you done.
Of COVID, right? And got our economy right side up. Right? And then we talked about, again, I'll say this till I'm blue in the freaking face, but she talked about helping you buy your first home. Matter of fact, the buy your first home message lost out to they're eating the cats and dogs, but now Rocket Mortgage is running commercials where all you need is 1% down to buy a home. How long you think that mortgage period is going to last? What's that? 900 months? Like 1% down. The cost of a house in Metro Atlanta is what? $400,000. You're putting 1% down, you're going to be paying for this thing, forever. And who's going to be able to afford it? Oh, by the way, today, the interest on your student loans kicks in.
Kicks back in.
Right. Right. And they can't eat next week. Yep.
A race war in the Democratic Party on, I'll quote, electability.
Right.
But she certainly shouldn't hide, and we need her out there. So I was happy to see her step back in, and I hope she starts going after Trump because she can get under his skin, and everything that makes him look like a fool, I'm happy about.
Yep, absolutely, and she can get under his skin as a prosecutor, which is even better.
She could just start coming out and saying, wow, you're doing a shitty job. God, would I do a better job than you? God, your policies suck and your ideas suck. God, are you unpopular? Oh my God, unbelievable. Whew, what a mistake that was made. Like if she had that kind of personality, she could really, she could really go at him in that way. And he would take the bait in a heartbeat.
No doubt. All right, buddy. Good stuff. Always a pleasure.
All right, Mark. Good to talk to you. I'll speak to you tomorrow.
Sounds good, my friend.
All right. Bye-bye.
Peace.